Well, hello, 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 and welcome to ZBrush Live. And go ahead and get started. So just taking care of a little bit of business here. Just do all these things, which I'm sure all of you know how to do. Lastly, with questions, if you guys have any questions, make sure to either ask during the stream in the chat, or you can always leave it as a comment and somebody will hopefully get back to you if you're watching this after the fact. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get going here. All right, so a couple of quick changes. First is I moved my video of me talking over here to the left. So it seems to be the way to go, so I did that. If it's a problem with anybody, let me know. And also, let's quickly do a sound check. Let's make sure everybody can hear me okay, and if you can see my screen okay, and then we can go ahead and get started. So I'm looking, it looks like there's one person on YouTube already. Bad Cat, if you can hear me, let me know. And also, if somebody on Twitch and Facebook can let me know as well, we can go ahead and get started. Okay, great. So thank you very much. No, bro, I guess. And yeah, okay, fantastic. So we're good to go. I think we have enough of a consensus here to go ahead and get going. All right, so just to kind of catch you guys up, as a matter of fact, I have an image here I should bring up just to give you an idea of what we've been doing. This is episode 11, I believe, of this season. And I usually just go and do one project throughout the season, but there are different things throughout the project. For example, last time we worked on a and I think it's over here. Let me go to it. We worked on not this guy, but this guy. We worked on a tomb of some sorts, or a sarcophagus for some sort of alien creature that this is going to discover. And just to let you guys know, I'm kind of, you know, when I was a kid, I really liked Tintin as a kind of a graphic novel, and really, oops, let me make this a little bit bigger. I guess I can't make it bigger. All right, I can make it bigger this way. But anyway, I liked a lot of Tintin comics, and somehow I guess it's ingrained in my head. And the other day I was looking through my library, and I discovered this image, this cover of this book. And amazingly enough, this is what I'm doing subconsciously. This is the image I'm creating. So, you know, even the sarcophagus kind of looks like this as well. So it's pretty odd that that, you know, subconsciously I'm creating something like this. But basically, that's going to be the composition. And then the other thing I wanted to show you guys also is kind of the progression of where we have been. Now, this isn't every single one of the different, if I can find this image, and if this is not every single stage that we were in, but I just wanted to kind of do a quick recap of where we have been and what we have done in this entire here we go, in this entire episode list. And I think we've got maybe one more to go. I think we'll be good after that. And then we can move on to something new. But why am I not finding this image? Where are you? Oh, it's probably maybe under renders. I think that's where it is. Okay, no worries. I'll find it. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about this. And yep, here we are. All right, finally. Okay, so if I just bring this up, you can see here the different progress we've made. So we start out with just a basic character. We projected a bunch of images onto it. got a idea of a concept, and then we started refining it. Finally, we arrived at this. Now, a lot of these may seem like they look like they're the same image, and that's a good thing because we're kind of staying true to whatever the initial concept was. But you can see there's subtle changes and also a lot of refinements and cleanup in the different settings. And then after we did that, we basically posed the model, and this was one of the poses we wanted. But I think this is the one we're going to develop. And that's the one we have over here that we are going to work on. And so here we are. There is the person over here, and I'm going to assume that the sarcophagi are going to be over here. Maybe we'll do one more today, just to kind of have a couple of variants. And we'll also work on this cave. So that's basically what we're going to do today. Maybe we'll get to rendering and assigning materials to the character. We'll see how we're doing as with time. We had a bit of a longer stream last time, so hopefully today we'll be on time. But if we have to go a little bit over, I'm fine with that. And let's see here. Okay, great. So Bad Cat, good to have you back. And right, and DH86, hello back. Thank you for joining. And it seems like we got quite a few people on, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I guess the first thing I'll do is work on this cave a bit. And I don't know if you recall, but last time we kind of did a little bit of a smaller cave, which is this one right here. And I thought, okay, well, this one would be nice. But I thought, composition-wise, if I was to bring this to the screen, it would be good. It would be a nice close-up. But if we create kind of a bigger environment, maybe we would get some more interesting lights bouncing around. So I just went ahead and embellished this one just a little bit more and added this column in here. And if anybody's curious as to how I did that, I can go through it. So if anybody wants me to know how I did this kind of column in the middle, I will go through and explain that process. And if nobody cares, then I'll just move forward. So I'll just wait a couple of seconds until this catches up with everything, and then okay, cool. Bad Cat, yep, fun to be here for me too. So it's kind of a cool thing that we can do this. Yeah, so if anybody wants to know how I did this column, I can do it. Okay, so, yep, okay, so one person wants to know. All right, I'll show you how to do it. And I'm going to do kind of a simpler version of it, so just to give you an idea. Now, let's say I get, I'm just going to go ahead and add here a box. Maybe something like this. Let's see here. And this is just, there are different ways of doing the same thing, appending a box. One way to do it is just to click on this gear and choose a polycube, or I'm just using my insert mesh brush, which is a free download that you guys can get. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do two things here. First thing is, let me turn on the polyframe so we can see. I do have the polyframe on already. That's good. And then what I want to do is I just want to delete one of the faces, right? Because it's going to be an enclosed area. So I'm just going to go ahead and just say delete and delete that face. Now I can't see inside of here because of the normals, and I can turn double on. So now I can see inside. But I also am going to be working on the inside of this area. So I don't really... So turning double on isn't going to be efficient because when I render it, it's going to be inside out. So the way I can flip the normals around is to go here under, oops, let's do this real quick too. Sorry about that. I should have done this before. I wish there was a way to kind of go back and forth with this, but it's just kind of a short 2-second thing. It's just, I want to make this Wacom circle that's coming up a bit smaller like that. Okay. So, all right, so what's happening here is I just want to go to display properties under tool, right? And I'm just going to flip this. And once I flip it, now the normals are flipped. I can see the inside part. I'm going to turn on double anyway, just so I can see inside. Okay, so suppose this is kind of a very simplistic version of the cave. And here's the person inside the cave, and I'm going to move the cave just kind of over here to the side. And let's say what I want to do is I want to add a column in this cave, right? And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Move it in. All right, so, and let's just kind of make it so the person is kind of on the ground, like so. And let's say I want to put a column in here. Now, if I go in here and just zero mesh this cube, right? I'm just going to zero mesh it. It basically just creates this type of topology, which is fine. And then I'll just go in and smooth the edges a bit. And I'm just going to very quickly here just smooth it up, just so it's not so harsh and angular. It doesn't matter. I mean, this doesn't really add to the narrative, but it might help to just kind of get the idea across. Okay, and if I want to maybe just get this to be a little bit more cave-like, I'll just kind of go in here and use the clip curve to just collapse some of these edges down, like so, just to get a little bit more of a cave-like shape. So creating a cave is just, it's pretty easy. It's just basically an internal box of sorts. So there it is. And now I'm going to zero mesh it one more time. And this shouldn't take that long. There it is. And another thing I'm going to do here is just hit it with a little bit of a polish. Just to kind of rough out some of those edges. That's what I could have done before too, instead of using smooth, but here we go. All right, so let's say I want to put a column. I'm just using the move brush here to just move things around. And let's say I want to put a column in the middle of this. So the way I did it is I just, again, just went in here and added a cylinder. So here again in my brush, there are cylinders, and I'll choose any one. This one will do. Right here, rotate it around, resize it like so, bring it over, and place it over here, right? So just maybe this is going to be that column. And it is intersecting, notice here on the bottom, and I want it to also intersect on the top, so I'm just going to make it longer. And let's make this thing a bit thinner. So to make it thinner, right now, if I just resize it, it will make it thinner. But if I want to keep the length of it the way it was, but just make it thinner, if I click on this top resize and start resizing, but hold Alt down, then I can make it thinner or thicker. So there it is. And move it over a little bit this way. And now what I want to do is I want to merge these two together. So I'm just going to choose the cave and just go to merge down. And okay, and so now both of these are the same in the same subtool, right? So now if I go ahead and zero mesh it, it's really not going to, it's going to zero mesh each one of these individually, so that's not going to solve my problem. What I want is to fuse these together. Now, the other way to do it is if I go in and Dynamesh it, right? Dynamesh does what I need it to do, sort of, but it closes up the hole. So here, so if I want to remove this hole here, I can do that. Let me just do this real quick. So what I'm going to do is here switch back to select this, and invert my selection. So that's good, but then notice that it has the outside parts and not the inside parts, okay? So for it to have the inside parts, I would have to flip this around. Okay, so I have to flip this top and this bottom around and re-separate them and reconnect them up. So that would be another way of doing it. So I'm not going to do it that way either. So actually, I'll show you how it's done, just so you guys know. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see if this works. Right, and invert that. So there's this. I'm going to flip this. So we'll do the exact same thing I did before. Go to Display Properties and flip. And then bring this back. And then let's do the Dynamesh this time and see if we get what we want. I don't think so, but it's worth looking at. Nope. So that didn't really solve the problem either. All right, so then I guess the next thing to do is to do this in a different way. So I'm not going to be doing the cylinder as the way to do it. So I'm going to actually get rid of that cylinder. Oops. And a good way to do it is just use delete island here. Gets rid of not delete a poly, but delete island. That gets rid of the cylinder. And so the other way to do it, and the way I kind of managed to do it afterwards, is I'm going to go ahead and choose a brush like the snake hook brush. Okay, and just like it recommends, I'm going to turn on Sculptress Pro, and then I'm going to go ahead and lift this top part up. And then, and this is kind of how things happen in a cave anyway, and then bring this bottom part down. So notice here that the brush size is kind of, you know, it's kind of repelling each other. So, and this kind of creates a more even interesting scenario. I'm going to turn topological on, so it's not, I'm only manipulating the part that I am touching first. So topological is, if you guys are interested, it's in the brush menu, I think, right here. Where is the brush menu? There you are. And I think it's under, is it under auto masking? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's under auto masking and topological. Here it is. All right, so, and I've just put it on my UI because it's something I use all the time. And so now I just kind of get this to a good angle. And so now I can see that they're starting to intersect each other. So I just kind of bring these together. So now that they're kind of meshed, kind of intersecting each other in a way, I can just, all right. Okay, I'm just going to turn topological off. And now I'm just going to kind of, I mean, these are touching each other, so it's kind of what I want. And now I'm going to go ahead and Dynamesh. Okay, so again, it's going to close up the front, but I'm just going to invert that. And then I can see that these are actually starting to connect here. And I can just Dynamesh it again. And continue to do what I'm doing. So now you can see that these are actually fused together, and I can see through here. And if I look at it from the top, that they're actually connected up. One more Dynamesh, and then that's basically how you do it. I'm going to turn Sculptress mode off, and then just zero mesh it now, and I should get what I want, which is, I think maybe there were some stray polygons, so it's going to take a while. Okay, that's what the problem is. Okay, so the problem was that I had that front part hidden, so no worries. Whoa, what is going on now? I'm getting into all sorts of fun here. All right, so what I'm going to do is make sure that I delete that hidden part, which is right here, delete hidden. And now I will zero mesh it again, and it should not have that problem. Although one other thing I should have done is just to make sure there were no stray polygons, but that's fine. So let's see what this comes up with. And if this doesn't work, then I can just do a little bit more. Oh, here we go. It did it. Yep, there it is. So that's basically how you do it. I think I have a little bit of a, yeah, I have a little bit of a hole over here, but I can close that with close holes. Of course, that's going to close up the front too. But I can also do it with ZModeler. So just go in here with ZModeler and close. And we can just close this up over here. I mean, it's not really visible in the front, but just for kind of for things to work better, there it is. Make this whole thing one poly group. And one other thing I want to do is just make sure I'm deleting any stray groups. So I'm going to just go ahead and say split to parts. Yep. All right. So yeah, see, there were some kind of floaty parts over here, which I didn't want. So I'm just going to get rid of those. And here is my cave with the column in the middle. So I mean, it's a little bit of a long way around. I think there might be easier ways of doing it, but this would be a way to kind of create like a stalactite, stalagmite joining together and creating a column in a cave. Okay, so so going back to our initial cave here, and I'm gonna, I guess I'll keep this one. It seems interesting looking. I might use it for something else later. So that's how I made this this column right here. Okay, and oh, good, awesome. In dough smoke, that's great. I'm on a PC. But everything I'm doing is exactly the same on the Mac. So there's nothing really unique about what I'm doing here to the PC. It would be exactly the same on the Mac. ZBrush is available on both platforms. And yeah, so it would all be the same. All right, so one thing I want to do here is I want to zero mesh this again one more time, just to kind of get the contours and everything to work well. All right, there it is. And now another thing I want to do is I want to get some UVs on here because I'm going to put some surface noise on there. And again, I don't really need to get too precious with the UVs. I just need to go in here into plugins, Z plugin, UV master. And I don't have symmetry. I don't have polygroups. I'm going to turn both of those off. And I'm just going to click on unwrap. And you can see here that UV master is doing the unwrapping. And it's done. Let's see what that looks like if I flatten it. Okay, so that's what the cave will look like unflattened. Another thing I want to do real quick is I can't really see the seams here. So a good way of seeing them is to turn on a texture map. Turn this off, and just there is a really good texture map for that here. Where are you? I mean, I can put the checker on, so I can see that there seems to be a seam over here, not a good place for it. Let's try this one. Yeah, there's a seam over here. It's kind of okay, but it's kind of not. All right, so one thing I can do here to prevent that from happening is I'm going to turn the texture off. And I'm going to delete that UV. Where are you? UV map. Delete UV. And I'm going to try and do it again, but I want it to protect it so this column does not have a an area on it. So I'm going to enable control painting, and I'm going to click on protect. And I'm going to protect this column. So all I'm doing is just basically painting it red. And what that means is, you know, wherever the red color is, don't put a seam there. And 9 times out of 10, this works really well. All right, and then let's see what that does. I'm just going to just very simply do it that way. There it is. I'm going to hit UV unwrap again, and let's see if it does protect it. Okay, and let's do a morph UV. It did put a seam, I think, but it put it up higher. I don't know why it wants to put one there, but I think maybe with the calculation that it does, that's where it is. Let's turn the texture back on. Yeah, it put the seam right there. I mean, it's not bad. It's actually, it could have been worse. But let me, you know, just for kicks, let me do this one more time. And see if I get anything different. Well, it kind of went back to the way it was before. That's fine. I think I'm just going to kind of agree to leave it the way it is, and I'll show you guys why I did create a UV map in just a minute. Okay, so here I've got kind of the underpinnings of this cave, and for a kind of a initial stage, I think it's a good place for it to be because it's. You know, I think it's kind of a you know, for a kind of starting stage, I think it's okay. The topology is good. I can subdivide it. So I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to Control D, subdivide it once. that really kind of smoothed it out. I don't want it to be that smooth, so I'm going to actually turn off smoothing for the first subdivision level, and then turn it on for the subsequent ones. And let's go to about 4 levels of subdivision here. That's good. And now I'm just going to pick Damien Standard, and I'm going to sharpen up some of these edges so they're not so kind of buttery. And I'm going to turn polyframe off. So I have a little bit of kind of a harder edge on some of these areas because, I mean, yeah, there's water that drips through here and everything, and caves are usually smooth, but also I just want it to be a little bit more, you know, have a little bit more definition. And I basically looked up some reference of some pictures of caves, underwater caves, etc. I don't think we've discovered any caves in space. Usually, I think somebody mentioned it last time that there has to be water or something that to create the cave. So here I'm just basically kind of very roughly adding some kind of sharp edges to wherever the definitions are, just so I can get kind of a little bit better shadow. And maybe this kind of continues on a bit this way. All right, so now I've got a bit of a better definition of how this cave looks. And now the next thing I want to do is start thinking about, you know, breaking this thing up into textures. So one thing I want to do here, and let's see, I don't have the button for it there. That's fine. I'm going to turn on this kind of free plugin that you can get. I don't know if it's a plugin, but it's basically a I think I could launch it from the file menu here, I think, too. In the latest versions of ZBrush, they integrated XMD Toolbox, so you can launch it here from the file menu. By the way, I should mention that everybody should be on version 2022.0.5. Especially if you downloaded 2022.0.4, make sure you go to 0.5, because there was a kind of a bug with the gizmo that they fixed pretty fast. So make sure you're on that version. So I don't know if you can see it up here. I don't think you can, but it is basically something that that they addressed right away. And this version's been pretty stable. I've been using it all week. All right, so I'm just going to look for some sort of kind of rock crack brush. And XMD Toolbox is just basically this thing right here, where it basically shows me all these cracks. I'm just looking for a brush that has some cracks in it, and I think this one's pretty good. So I'm just going to choose that one. Okay, so that basically places my brush over here. And what I want to also do is go down in subdivision levels, maybe to level 2 here, and start drawing out that brush. So basically what that's doing is it's just breaking up the surface for me, so it's not so smooth. And, it's just kind of giving me a little bit more surface definition. And notice I'm doing this at a pretty high, at a pretty low subdivision level, just because I don't really want that pattern. I just want a little bit of I would just want to break the smoothness to some sort of jagged kind of look of a cave. All right, so that's looking okay. And that's good. All right, so the next thing I want to do, now I'm assuming that this is some sort of a living being as the cave, or it's some sort of a, alien modified or alien kind of infested type of cave. So if anybody's played StarCraft here, it's kind of like maybe the creep that you have, where you basically it kind of grows some sort of alien vegetation or alien, organism that basically kind of enshrouds the cave. And so I kind of want to get to that. So I don't want it to be a rock cave. I want it to have some sort of alien of look to it. Okay, so let's see. Question here. Core, which is nice for now with. Yeah. The good thing about ZBrush is that it doesn't really need a beefy graphics card, and it works pretty decent on PCs that don't really, they're not powerhouse PCs. My PC is about maybe 5-6 years old, so it's not really that new of a machine. Although I'm kind of excited about the new Intel Alder Lake processor that just came out, so I'm kind of looking forward to see what they do with that. I might not just jump in right now. It's not a good time to do that, but eventually I think I want to upgrade. But for now, this machine is rocking out pretty well. And yeah, it seems like now is just not the right time to be buying hardware. Everything is just so either overinflated price-wise, or even if you want to pay the money, it seems like things aren't as available as they used to be. All right, but I'm sure that problem will go away soon. All right, so now I've got a little bit of a chatter here for the rocks, and that's basically what I was going for. And now what I want to do is let's kind of start adding some surface noise to it. So I'm just going to go to Surface here under Tool, and let's click on Noise. And looks like I've got some going on already, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, and let's start over. Okay, so here's my cave, and I'm using UVs, so let's kind of add just the normal noise that ZBrush has. And if I was doing this as a normal cave, this would have been really great to just kind of get a cave-like look. So, and I could go into the noise plugin and do some of that stuff too, but I can change the scale of the noise to something like this. And maybe start playing around with this curve a little bit. Maybe go the other way and get like an interesting pattern like this, right? So I could do that, and I might leave that there. I think that's okay. But I also want to add an alpha here, and I'm going to be using the alphas that came with Pablo's Giger and Beksinski pack, right? So there's quite a few interesting ones that came with it, and so I'm going to go ahead and just try the different ones and see which one will work well. I'm going to try this one. Okay, so here's this pattern. So I'm going to, for a minute here, turn off the existing noise and just use this one. And with the strength, notice that you can go the other direction too. I think this looks better as a negative. And let me change that noise scale. And you can see here that I'm getting something really interesting already. Right, so I'm using this alpha and I'm applying it to the cave here. And I'm getting this type of pattern, which looks pretty interesting. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and accept this for now. Okay, so there it is. Now, notice here that this is at subdivision level 2, right? So this noise here is not really applied. It's basically just kind of a preview. And if I apply it, okay, there it is. So before I do that, though, I want to store a morph target just so I can kind of go back and forth between what it does. And okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing again, apply it, and then go to morph target here and start, seeing what it would look like. So I don't really need it to be that harsh, so I can just kind of drop down the harshness. So maybe this is kind of an under painting or under sculpting, probably would be a better term. For the cave, and I think that looks okay. So I'm just going to kind of go further on and embellish this. All right. So now once I've got this noise on, I'm going to go ahead and go back to surface here. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to turn noise on, go to edit. And now, of course, it's adding the same one again. I don't want to do the same one, but let's say I want to pick another one of the patterns, right? So these are basically just some alphas, pardon me, that that Pablo includes with the brush pack. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one. And let's go ahead and see what it does with scale. Excuse me. And this one's kind of adding some interesting things to it. I'm going to try and see if I can go the other way. And that's okay. Let's see here. It's not really doing that much. So maybe let's do a little bit more. I think the strength is at maximum here. Here we go. If I do that, I mean, that's kind of interesting, but the problem with things like this is that you can kind of see that it's a repeating pattern, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Here it's not working very well. So let me see if I change the scale a bit to bigger. Here we go. That's good. All right, so I'll go ahead and say okay. All right, so now that adds these little bit of bits and bobs to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this to the mesh. Okay, there's that. And yeah, that created like a little bit of an interesting thing. And I'm going to try this one more time. One last, you know, it's always good to layer these together. And I could have added these as layers as well. But I think just for however quick I'm getting this done, I don't really care that much about it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose a different alpha. There's, I think it comes with about maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It comes about 20 of them, and they're pretty good. I'll go ahead and choose this one, and let's see what that looks like. All right, and this is looking good, but let's go ahead and go to the other direction here. Yep, that's kind of neat. It's creating these nice grooves, and choose something like this. So between the different things that I'm doing here, I'm getting kind of more of a, you know, less of a smooth cave look, but more of kind of some sort of a organism. And of course, I'm going to add to this with brushes in a minute. But I think that's kind of interesting, like that. So, and let me try going the other direction. I think it looks better subtracted. Okay. All right. So here in the noise plug, basically, I've got I can add I can add noise to it as well, and that's the mix here. So if I want to mix the basic noise, I get this. So now I've got, you know, both the regular noise and the this kind of alpha noise to it. So that's kind of good. So maybe this is what the cave looks like before before I start kind of making it more more of a kind of an organism. So let's go ahead and accept this as well. Apply to mesh. And there we go. All right, and I still have my morph target, by the way, so I can always kind of go back and see, you know, if I can exaggerate this in any way. So I don't want it to be too exaggerated. And so I think about there, maybe about there is good. All right, so while this is saving, if anybody has any questions about any of this, go ahead and ask, and then we can pick it up after it does its quick save. It's a good place to do an autosave. All right, that's one cup of tea down. On to the next one. All right, and this should be done here momentarily. All right, no questions. Take a quick look here. right, so now we want to start kind of adding some additional stuff here. So I'm just going to go into my light box here and go to brush and go to my brush folder right here, and I'm going to use Pablo's brush set as well. And I think I showed it last time. It's a pretty nifty brush kit that he's got. And I think of all of these, I'm going to use, I might do something real quick here, just so I get an idea of what these brushes look like. There's a good PDF that he, and I'll show it to you guys in a minute. There's a good PDF that he provides with the brush kit, so you kind of know which brush you're using. And I just want to load that up. Right, so the PDF just shows the brushes. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Right, it shows the different brushes, and I think I want to use this one. So it's the ZBrush membrane builder. That's a good one to use. And you know, it's pretty interesting here. He shows some examples of some of the things he's done with it. So let's go ahead and do that one. ZBrush membrane. Okay, I think it's this one. All right, so now I'm just basically going in here and starting to add that as a pattern to what we have. So now it's starting to look a little bit more kind of like some sort of organism. Hopefully you guys can see this all okay. I could probably divide this one more time at this point just to get a little bit more definition. And you can see here that I'm basically augmenting what was there, but with a little bit more of this kind of structure. And here I'm just basically following the contours of what I have. And the difference between this and what was happening before is that I basically am controlling the directionality of it. All right, so automatically here you can already see that it's becoming more of a, you know, it's a cave, but it's really not a cave. It's some sort of an alien type of environment. So, you know, we've kind of shifted from character stuff to environment stuff in this stream, which, you know, just kind of shows the strength of ZBrush, that it can be used for a lot of different things, not just characters, not just stylistic characters, not I've used it for hard surface, so it's just a very versatile tool. All right, so here we can see that we're getting a very, very interesting looking oh, it's an alien ear. That's a good one. Sure. Kind of like Land of the Giants, where, you know, right, so you can kind of see yeah, and then maybe we'll just have like a giant Q-tip coming in to clean it. All right, so now it's kind of looking a little bit more more and I'm probably going to layer this on one more time with another one of these brushes. So here I'm just kind of, you know, we're not going to see these parts, but just in case, you know, the camera's turning or whatever, I'm just kind of roughly adding some of these to it. All right, and now I might want to see what this will look like, you know, with a little bit more contrast. So I'm going to just go to deformation here, and let's hit this with a little bit of contrast. And this is kind of a creepy thing because it looks like the thing is alive. We don't want too much of that. What if we kind of reduce the contrast so it's there, but it's not really kind of jumping out at you? I think that's good. All right. I think for this part, it's good. Okay. And so, you know, at this point, I'm kind of thinking camera angles, like maybe this, something like this, you know, up close, something like that. And I can do, you know, I mean, good thing about ZBrush and concept design is I could do multiple angles. I could do one like this, so I could do different ones. So here I'm just kind of getting into the angles that I have just to make sure that, you know, there isn't kind of a blank spot. All right, that's good. All right, so let's go back to these brushes and see what else we can use. So the one we used, I think, was this one right here. It'd be nice to kind of tube it up with some of these kind of alien-looking tubes as well, but I don't think I'm going to do that. These warp bones directional looks good. I'm going to use that also. And also the spine directional looks good too. I might use that. Okay, so I think we used this one, membrane builder, controlled. I think so. Let's see. Membrane builder, controlled. I think, yeah, that's the one we used. So now I want to go to this one that's kind of the bones, which I think is this one right here. Let's take a look again. Membrane builder controlled. That's the one we want. Membrane builder. Membrane builder wall. This thing would stop moving. All right. And I don't know if this will show. Let's see, membrane wall. No. I think this is the one we use. We use membrane builder structured, which isn't the one I wanted, but it worked out okay. And then what I want is membrane builder controlled. Where are you? Here it is. All right, let's see what we get with this. All right, so this is more kind of like a curve brush. I'm going to choose a big brush size. Right, yep, that's kind of creating some interesting breaks in this pattern that we've got. Now, one other thing I could try to do here is, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and start maybe trying some colors on here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this with, let's say, some sort of a grayish color. So here's where the slider really comes in handy, maybe like a gray like this. I'm going to start out with a darker color. Okay, there it is. And then I'm going to pick a lighter color and turn RGB on for the brush. Let's see, how about even a lighter color than that? And kind of start bringing out some of these edges. Maybe let's try a stronger intensity. Here we go. So now we're getting some really kind of interesting Beksinski kind of looking patterns here. I'm really liking what happened up here. I want to do more of it. Is this, I think this is just a stroke. Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, that's kind of the neat thing about ZBrush too, is that you get really good angles. I mean, you don't have to look at whatever you're working on and on one angle. You can kind of choose different angles. Now, I don't know why the RGB isn't coming through. Did I change colors? No. All right. So you see here, in just kind of very few minutes, I've gotten very neat looking. So yeah, I don't understand why RGB intensity is 100. Why is it not? I mean, I could always paint it afterwards, I guess. I won't give a. I'll use this other trick, which will make it work really well. All right, so now I'm kind of getting a really interesting looking kind of. And remember, I can always kind of go negative as well with the brush. So maybe I'll drop one of those negatives over here. I think I'm going to maybe fill this with a lighter color just so I can see a little bit better. That's a bit too light. Fill it again. Okay, here we go. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. No worries. Let's go back and pick that brush back up. Hopefully it's still highlighted. Now what I really like about this also is that once I bumped up the Z intensity, it's creating these nice kind of sharp edges, like stalactite type edges, which are working really well. The color is switched off on my subtool. Oh, is that what's going on? No, it's on. But that's a good guess, though. That is a good guess. But that's, that's kind of okay. Or maybe it was turned off, and then when I did the fill object, it turned it on. I don't know. All right, so here I'm just kind of getting a little bit more of these kind of jagged edges. So it's getting, and I don't want the cave to be kind of the hero. I just want it to be a backdrop. So, I should be done with it here pretty soon. All right, let's add some more of those kind of sharp edges over here. And then also maybe some on the bottom going up. Right? Let me go even higher with the intensity. Oh, look at that. So just kind of look at this way. Let's add a little bit of this type of thing over here, which will look really nice kind of from this angle. All right. And I'm just going to do a clip curve on these top parts because I don't want anything jutting up over. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but all right. Yeah, I mean, I could produce a lot of different images, and also, it would be helpful for, the camera crew to kind of get an idea, because like a lot of concept designs, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been watching Boba Fett or The Mandalorian. At the end of the show, they show concept images, which I always wonder, like, are these the concept images that they went from, or are these images that they produced after the movie was done? So, and they're really compelling angles, and if they are the images that the movie is based on, that's good, because those are the shots that they use. And maybe the concept designers basically are directing the shots themselves, but wouldn't it be cooler to just have something like this where you can maybe find even a better shot? Who knows? But yeah, I think most of the concept design is still done in 2D, unfortunately. I think only really progressive companies are doing concept design in 3D. I know a lot of really good 3D concept designers that are basically hard to find, but they do really well. But I think most of it is still Photoshop. Most of it is still photo bashing. All right, so I think that's pretty good there for the cave. I think we've got enough of a good feel here. Maybe I'll choose one more brush just to kind of give it an idea, but I think I want to store this as a morph target right now because I think this is kind of a good place to start. And then I'm going to use one more brush here, which let me look at the PDF again, which was this membrane builder connected. This one's pretty neat. But there was another one that I liked up here. Yeah, these brushes are really good. Pablo did a really good job with these. Definitely worth. This warp bones directional is pretty good. I might try that. And there was one more. Where are you? It's like the spine membrane one. This one right here. Spine directional. Okay, spine directional and warp bones directional. So let's see, spine directional. There it is. All right, and I'm going to do another trick here where I'm just going to basically duplicate this. So I'm just going to make an exact copy of it. Okay, so I'm looking at both of these. And then I'm just going to work on the duplicate. And also what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fill the duplicate with a different color. So I'm just going to choose, let's say, darker, maybe brown color like this. Object. Okay, so I've got this one, and then I've got the one, this one, which is the gray one. And what I want to do is I just want to work on this one. And I don't have solo on, so this should be good. And I'm going to go back to a different color here. And what I want to do with this other one that I created is I just want to inflate it a little bit. Whoa, that's kind of interesting. I just want to inflate it so it basically shows the initial one. And so now what I'm doing is I'm working on that one and just bringing in the one underneath just as like a secondary growth inside. Okay, let's see. I've got a bunch of questions here and I do need a bit of tea. Hey, 88 Scrolls, good to have you. All right, so here we go. And so now I'm basically painting on the other, I'm working on this one right here, right? Which is in the background, but it's kind of coming through this one. So maybe this is like some other sort of vegetation. And maybe this is just happening around where the tombs or the sarcophagi are going to go. Oh, Whittlebach. Hey, man. How's it going? Good to have you on here. Oh, your friends, okay. I think they're done afterwards. Oh, good to know. Good to know. Good to know. All right, so here we're just kind of getting some of this to show through. right? So it's kind of coming through like this. And if I want to see what it looks like over here, this is kind of what it looks like. This is looking, oh man, this is looking even better. I don't even know if I want to, and this color, this red color is really neat. Maybe it'll be a red cave. How about that? Okay, so the cave is the way it is for the most part. And what I'm going to do here is, and I wonder if the morph target replicated as well. Let's see. Because it'll be interesting to see to go back and forth between the two. Talk about happy accidents, you know, with, yep, it did go through. Nice. Talk about happy accidents with ZBrush, you know. I mean, look at this. It almost looks like the cave is alive. How about that? Looks like some sort of membrane. This would be cool to animate. And I just want to find a kind of a happy, if I go the other way. Let's see. I think that's good right there. All right, so let's see what it looks like with the other one. So now I've got kind of two caves happening. I've got this gray one and with these kind of showing up in there. And I wonder if I just inflate this thing down. Well, let's try some other things. One of the things that's fun about ZBrush is you can, you know, you could play around just a little bit. Oh wow, look at that. This is like different. So that's one way of doing it. Now another way of doing it is I'm going to try and do the contrast, see what that does. Let's go the other way and see if it kind of crosses through somehow. I think that looks good. And what we could do is we can make maybe, all right, I think I like that too. Geez, so many good choices. What I could do is I could make these emissive. So maybe these are like some sort of a, since it's a dark cave, it's like some sort of a light emitting organism that's basically creating a little bit of light in the cave. All right, so I think we got enough. So between these two subtools here, between this one, which I want to take the color off of it for a second, just so I can see what it looks like. Oh, as geometry. Wow, look at that. So I've got this as one option, and then I've got the other one, this one, as another option. So I've got two kind of cool looking caves, and also I can have a combination of the two, which would be something like this. And either one of those is good. I'm not going to be Booleaning these, so just want to see what this looks like. So that's kind of interesting because it kind of went into the other direction. Kind of stepping back the undos of this just to see if I get something more interesting looking. Let me solo it out. Just kind of going back and forth in time. I think what we ended up with at the end was good, which is kind of interesting because it did a contrast, but it kind of collapsed it into itself. So, all right, I think we're good. Okay, so these are done. Oh, one other thing I should do is turn double off just to see if, yeah, I kind of, All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this. And I don't know if this is a smart idea. Let me do a quick save before I do it. I'm just going to zero mesh it, not zero mesh it, but dynamesh it just to see if I get a kind of an interesting pattern. So yeah, I'm just going to dynamesh it. So because some of this stuff crossed into itself and created this kind of negative space, and I want that to show up. So I'll let it do its thing. All right. This would be a good time to ask any questions if anybody has any. All right, here we go. And yeah, so I don't know if you guys can see it, but I guess you can see it if I turn double on. So you see how this is kind of changing a little bit. There's some of these that are kind of crossing into each other. So I'm going to try and see what ZBrush or Dynamesh will do to this, just for kicks. So the resolution is set pretty low here. I'm going to bump it up to, let's try 2048. And this might take a little bit of time to do it, but I just want to give it a whirl. Oh, of course I hit the wrong button. I can always escape out of that, and let's do Dynamesh this time. Okay, would you like to freeze? Let me escape out. No. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of why I saved it before. It actually didn't take long. And this is what it looks like on the inside, but it did kind of cover it up. That's what Dynamesh does. But that's okay. I can always do this to it. And also it flipped the normals, so that's fine too. And it creates something really interesting. So I want to kind of go ahead and delete the hidden parts here. And I'm also going to flip this around. Not normal, but display properties and flip. Okay, I don't know why it's saying this. All right, that's fine. I don't think I need the morph target for it anymore. I can delete it, and then let's flip it. See what we get. Oh, wow. That's a whole other thing we just got. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually have 3 different caves. So I'm going to duplicate this one, and then go back to this one over here and go back in time to before I did all this stuff to it. Maybe get it to here. And I don't know if this has that kind of self-intersecting happening a little bit, not too much. All right, so I think I've got 3 different caves here that I can play with, and let's see what they look like together. That would be an interesting one. And let's turn the color on this one. Okay, so that's cool. And then what about this one? That's cool too. All right, let's try these out in Keyshot and see what kind of effects we get. So I'm just going to turn Keyshot on. Where are you? And let's send this stuff over. I'm not going to send over the astronaut just because I don't, yeah, why not? Doesn't really take up that much room. All right, so let's launch Keyshot and see what we get. What we get for this. So Keyshot 11 came out, but I didn't really have time to install it. I will have it on next time when we kind of focus more on rendering. But oh, dude, I have to change the preferences again. No worries. I'm going to cancel this import. Cancel. Yeah, there's a thing in Keyshot where you can change the preferences so it doesn't use high DPI. I'm just going to cancel the import here. Preferences. If you guys could bear with me for just a second. So yeah, the thing is here, notice that there's a high DPI support. If I turn that off, it works better with the resolution I'm streaming with. So I'm just going to close this, and then let's do this. All right, so it did launch it on another screen, but let's see once I bring it over what it would look like. I guess that's okay. All right, so let's see what we get out of this. So I'm going to, first of all, just want to do one other thing here, which for some reason I have to do every time. And if anybody knows how I can change this, that would be great. But I have to go into my preferences, not do anything, but just go into it so I can have the Maya keys work. All right, so let's say this is kind of an angle that I'm going to choose. Right, and again, this is very, very rough. I'm just basically doing some tests, and you can already see I'm getting some really interesting stuff going on here. So let's pick kind of a, let's pick plastic or paint. Paint is good. And let's choose, oops, wrong set here. paint, rough paint, and let's drop an orange here for the cave and edit that material and choose kind of a grayish brown color. How about this, but darker? Okay, there's that. Okay, maybe not so dark. All right, and then let's choose an emissive light for the other parts. So let's choose a warm emissive, and let's just do that. And that's looking cool. But I might want to add some of those inside here to get a better effect. All right, so what is going on with this? Let's see. For an environment, let me choose a different environment. Let's see if I've got something that's a good studio one would be fine. Let's see what this does. That's okay. Kind of disappointed that some of the detail didn't come through as much. Did I just have it at a low subdivision level here? Let me make sure that these are all maxed out subdivision level wise. Maxed out. This one's maxed out. And how about you? Maxed out as well. All right, so I don't know why I'm getting... I might need to add another subdivision level and add a little bit more detail here. All right, so this is what it's looking like. What if I just go completely dark on this? Let's go to Studio, Basic, all black. So basically the only lights we're using is whatever these are illuminating. There we go. Maybe let's add a pin light. Just a little one in the back. Right there. All right, so yeah, I think this emissive business is a good idea. Now I've got yet another one of these things to play with. Another one of these caves to play with. So let's go ahead and add some sort of another type of material to it. Let me go to lighting again, our environment, and let's choose this guy. It says place it where I want. Okay, so I want the person to be lit up. So that's good. And I want this light to be a little bit smaller. Let's go to 10. Maybe a little bit brighter though. Here we go. All right, so, and for the other cave part, let's choose a different, so there's, you can kind of see little bits and pieces of it. So let's choose another emissive. Material. And I'm going to choose neutral here, but I'm going to change the color of it. Okay, let's refresh the HDR one more time. And then I've got emissive warm and emissive neutral. And for that neutral, I'm going to choose, like, let's see what a red does. Good dark red. Okay. And what do I have here? Let's go to interior lighting, which is going to take a bit longer to render. And I'm going to switch this to GPU, not performance mode, but GPU mode. And let's denoise it. So that's creating a very interesting look. For the cave. but I'm not really seeing a lot of the details, so maybe I'll make the cave walls a little bit lighter. And I'm going to definitely play around with these materials a bit more later on. But I think some of the polypaint did come through. So here, let me just go back in here. Pick that first cave and just fill it with one color. Okay, and send these back into Keyshot. Because it seems like I did get some of the polypaint in here. Whoa, what happened? Where did Keyshot go? Here it is. All right. No. Let me make sure here. Okay, so this one here is the astronaut. No, that was a cave. Is this the astronaut? No. Whoa, look at that. So I think this is the one here. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make sure that I wonder if this is kind of the place where it's crossing over itself too. I don't know. Anyway, the idea that I had of emissive stuff is good. Now another thing I could also do is I could pop in a point light in here. So edit, add geometry, or add light. And let's add a point light. And I'm going to move this thing, make it bigger, and move it over. Into the cave. So it's kind of, there's like some sort of light, something inside here as well. Is that in the cave? It is. All right. All right. So I think that's okay. And lighting, interior. Performance mode came on for some reason, but that's cool. Let's go back to one of these objects here. Let's go back to our angle and let this resolve. So I'm getting enough of an interesting thing where I know that this is going to work. And every once in a while I do jump in Keyshot just to make sure that you know, that it's going to look okay. You know, one discovery is that there needs to be a little bit more detail, especially over here since it's closer to the camera. Some of those nuances on the cave aren't showing as well, so I probably need to either exaggerate them or figure something else out. And just trying some different angles here. The denoise works pretty good. I mean, it creates a really interesting painterly effect right off the bat. Okay, so it looks like there's a bunch of let's see. I think your text is dark blue and Dr. Beer something or another. The tool that I'm using is Keyshot. It's a rendering program. Here, I'll bring the about up. So what? That's not the one I wanted. Help and about. Is this it? Yeah, Keyshot. And I'm using 10, but 11 just came out. So I didn't have the time to install it. So next time I'll be using 11 when we kind of finalize this. But Keyshot is a renderer, and also what's great about Keyshot is that it ties directly into ZBrush. So you can directly send your image over to it. Another thing I'm going to do here is just assign a basic a material to the character, just so we see that as well. So just basically a rough material, and I'm just going to choose a lighter material for the character. Let's choose a blue material. It doesn't matter. Is that what the question you're asking? And also, okay, so Tomas answered that. Thank you, Tomas. And okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, it's just right now we're just kind of doing a little bit of look dev just beforehand, just to get an idea. And I think for the most part, I'm happy with the results. I'm gonna close off Keyshot here. Let my machine breathe again. Keyshot uses the GPU and the CPU, and when I turned on it, my fans just kind of go wild. All right, cool. So I guess what I want to do, just to get a little bit of, and I'll try that out now here too, since we're doing it, is I want those patterns in the rocks to show off more. So I'm going to go into this one, add another subdivision level, and I'm going to get rid of this old cave. I don't think I'm going to need it. And then I've got these three. This one's the beginning one. So I'm kind of lost track here. I think this was the one that I dynameshed, right? It shouldn't have subdivision levels. Yeah, so we're not going to look at this one. We're going to look at these three. Okay, so this one was the one that came through, but it didn't really have as much detail as I wanted. So one thing I can do here is I can either add surface noise to it, or the other thing I can also do here is, again, just do a little bit more of the contrast, just to see if I can get... of course, I'm on the wrong one. I'm just going to make sure I'm on it. Okay, here we go. And deformation. And where are you? Contrast. Am I on the right one? Yep. So adding a little bit more contrast here just to kind of get a little bit more of the edges showing up. And I'm just going to shoot it over to Keyshot one more time. Sorry about that, just to kind of see if that makes it better. Just to give me, so that it gives me a good idea. All right, so... here we go. Keyshot again. Did it not remember? I guess it didn't. That's fine. We'll give it a minute to load up here. Oh, where'd it go? Come back. Space. I don't know why the, here we go. Let's see if this works this time. Yep, okay. So yeah, now the cave looks a lot better with that contrast. So it definitely did give me a little bit more of that chatter that I wanted. It looks okay. I might need to just do a little bit of cleanup, but I think that's fine. All right, so now that we're done with the cave, more or less, I might need to do a little bit of work on it off camera, but I think we're good. All right, so now I'm actually going to go ahead and start bringing in some of those sarcophagi and seeing where it would be a good place to put them. So first, let's do a few more, or just one more. I'm going to do one more sarcophagus. But I'm going to bring this one in just for kicks. So here I've got all these. What I'm going to do is do a merge visible. Make sure everything's on the high subdivision level and just do a merge visible, which will basically create one subtool that's going to be this, and add it over here. There it is, merged. I'm going to copy that and go back to our cave. And I don't really need to see the other ones. I'm going to hide them for now and paste it in. And let's start kind of positioning it where we want to put them. Say one of them is over here, maybe a little bit bigger. Actually, one thing I wanted to do before I did any of this is compare the size to the person. So I'm assuming that these are going to be bigger than the human. So I just want to kind of do the scaling here. Right, and maybe about that big. You know, it is not too much bigger than a human, but a little bit bigger. Right about there looks right. Okay, good. And again, I'm not really caring about the colors or anything like that right now. All I'm just worried about is positioning these. And maybe there's like one of these. Like so. And then I'm just going to use Control and duplicate and then create another one. Maybe one of them is laying down. So right now it's just basically doing compositing, doing kind of arranging of these pieces to create like some sort of a image. Right, so there's one. One of the nice things about the new Keyshot, and I might try that next time, is that I could kind of get a bunch of these and just hold them up, and then use the new dynamics feature to just let them drop, and see if I get like an interesting look to them. All right, so there's one, and then I'm just going to Control click, create one more. And it'd be cool to kind of have a variation of these sarcophagi. And I think last time we did it so these are glowing. So even so I don't know if I'm going to continue to have the cave glow, but if the cave is glowing and the sarcophagus, the alien inside the sarcophagus is glowing, it might be a bit too much. It might be kind of conflicting. So we'll see. All right, so the guy's here discovering these things, going, wow, look at these really cool looking. I don't know if that's a good place for it. If ZBrush had rigid dynamics, that would have been a cool kind of thing too. Like just kind of grab a bunch of these and drop them. So maybe, this is not kind of a burial ground for them, but maybe these sarcophagi were smuggled by somebody and just left here. So, I haven't really figured out the entire story yet, but they are of some sort of, high up kind of, in the hierarchy of things, they're kind of important people or important aliens, and that's why they're there. So yeah, I mean, I can do a bunch of these. I can do an array mesh and just distribute them or whatever, but, but it's kind of working right now. So I'm going to have another one here. So just Control-click dragging with the gizmo is a good way to kind of just duplicate them. And of course, in the end, I'll probably do a split to similar groups on these so that all the different pieces have, I can assign different materials to them. But for now, I'm just kind of playing around just to kind of get a compelling image of these. Or maybe there's one that's kind of this way. Here we go. And, you know, I mean, I did all, you know, these are all at the highest subdivision level. They don't really need to be. They could be at a lower subdivision level. It would be a little bit snappier. That would probably have been a better idea. But I guess, you know, you always learn from doing things. Here we go. And somehow I want to fit one more in here. Maybe there's 5 of these things. And again, they're not going to be the same, so I'm going to do another one in a bit here. How are we doing on time? Oh, great. Got about half an hour to go, which is perfect. Yeah, this one's going to be tricky to have one in here because I don't want it to hit the wall. Maybe it's like this. Here we go. So again, for inspiration, I'm going to look at my Tintin image and see how they've done it. There's only 2 in this one. That's kind of a good juxtaposition, so I will do the exact same thing. I'll do it this way and do it this way. Here we go. Always good to look at reference when you're stuck. All right, so I've got some more people saying stuff. I'll be on the chat in just a second here, and I appreciate you guys giving me all pointers and information. All right, I think that looks good. Wow, look at that. All right, so, and here's a cool camera angle, looking at it from the top like that. One of the other things that I wish ZBrush had is, you know, it would be awesome if there was a way to do a rule of thirds on here as an overlay. And I don't know if there is a program that will do it as an overlay to everything online, like if, you know, one of those maybe drawing applications. But for composition, that would be really cool. Now, another thing I'll use next time also, which is good to find a really good angle. Because, I mean, I'm using a tablet right now, and a tablet is good. But the Space Mouse is really, really neat to be able to kind of find a good composition angle. So maybe next time I'll plug in a Space Mouse and see if I can get a better, you know, get better composition angle. And just drop this like that over here. All right, so I'll just be, they'll basically be arranged like this, and then I'll just shoot a render. Now I can do some trial renders here. Let me just do turn Keyshot off, and I'll try some of the NPR non-photorealistic renders on here. And I'll just do a BPR here real quick. I think I might have one loaded already. All right, so let's look, while this is happening, let's look at some of the stuff. Curved ear alter. Yeah, I could do a curved ear one. So a name LAN, what is the stream? This is ZBrush Live, and I guess this would be a good time to do this bit of business. Is so ZBrush is a digital sculpting package. It's pretty widely used. It's even won an Oscar. It's pretty widely used in a lot of different industries, entertainment being a preliminary one. And they basically, you know, ZBrush Live is a channel that basically has a bunch of ZBrush artists that show off their work. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. And so you can go in here to the calendar and see who's doing what, when. And why is this? Okay, here we go. So you can see here there's a lot of streams coming up. And they're different styles. I mean, Tomas, who's here right now, does jewelry, and Daisuke does anime type sculptures. Ashley does some creatures that are really intriguing. Pablo does some great stuff. Shane does kind of stylistic looking characters. So there's a lot of artists, they do, so you look at these things, these images. Eric does some insects and kind of scientific visualization. So all these artists do amazing work, and so you can watch them do it. It's just, I mean, I basically will be doing this anyway. I thought it would be a good idea to stream it so I could share some of my knowledge with you guys and interact with you. So yeah, you can go to the calendar and do it. And also, I've done quite a few of these. I've done 5 seasons of them, and every season I basically work on one project. So if you go to my name down here, where am I? I should be here somewhere. Here we go. You can scroll down and you can see kind of a chronology of all the different streams that I've done. So here are the ones for this season, which is basically the character. Before that, I did a mech, and before the mech, I did a spaceship, and before the spaceship, I did a robot. So you can watch these. They're episodic. You can start from the beginning and kind of catch up. I did a spinner, a flying car. So that's what channel you're on, basically. And just a little bit about me. I basically have a website. You can see some of my artwork on, which is kermaco.com, kermaco.com. And I also have all of my socials are here. And I do have a Gumroad where you can download my brush. There's a free version of it, and there's also a for pay version of it. They basically are the same thing for the most part, but the one that is for pay has just a few extra pieces that are not really primitives, but they're things that I use all the time. I just thought I'd make it available. Excuse me, the basic one has 17 brushes, and the Pro one has a 36. So that's my Gumroad. And to get to my Gumroad, again, it's here. You can get to it from my website. I also have tutorials on the Gnomon Workshop. So if you go to the Gnomon Workshop here and go to Browse by Instructor, you can find me here along with some other really amazing artists. And I've got one where I basically do a mech, this mech from scratch, all the way from how to research and do reference collecting to sculpting in VR with Oculus Medium, which I think now is called just Adobe Medium. I guess they changed the name. Cool. And then I basically go into ZBrush and build the model, and then go into Substance Painter and paint it, and then render it and composite in Photoshop. So this is more of like just a class. I think it's about 9 hours that goes all the way from the beginning to the end. I also have another tutorial on photogrammetry, so you guys can watch that too if it's something that is interesting to you. And that's basically taking pictures of something from all angles and then actually loading it into ZBrush to use in a game or something like that. So here you can see that I've got this character that posed with a Nerf gun, and I basically brought it into ZBrush, retopologized it, and put a different gun in her hand, and I could repurpose this for a game or for a movie or something like that. Anyway, so that's basically the kind of the pitch. Oh wow, look at this. While in the background this was rendering. And here I'm just going to go into the filters, and let's go to one bar here. So this is just a filter that I had, and already this is a pretty compelling image. I'm actually going to drop a save on this, if you guys don't mind, because it looks pretty good. Happy accident right here. Renders and okay, there's one. And then I can basically, yep, and that's good. And then here, this would be nice to have another place that would be nice to have a rule of thirds is over here. But it's cool, no worries. And I can just kind of find a good composition and maybe something like that. And click OK. So now that's saved. And then I can go through all these different filters. So Pascal Blanchet has some good ones. Let's see what these filters look like. So it's basically the same thing I'm looking at here. And I'm just going through these filters. And again, it's not a full render every time. It's just basically shuffling through these different filters. And again, I'm just looking for something that looks interesting. Wow, that looks good right here. And then I can modify this just a little bit. Let's do that by going into render, and I'm going to go into the filters here, and I'm going to add one more filter here because I think this would look good with a border. So let's go over here, outline edge. There it is, and let's pump that up to 100 the other way. All right, so there we go. There's another one that looks good. And I can play around with some of these. Saturation was down. Let's see if I increase that. So I'm basically taking the vanilla filter and changing it up just a little bit. The contrast actually looks good. And then what's this one do? Paint. So these basically, each one of these, and if you guys want to know how these work, Paul Gabri, who works for Maxon ZBrush, I guess I'm starting to say the name correctly now. He does some really good tutorials on all these, and so try to catch his tutorials if you can. All right, so there's kind of that looks okay, and then let's just kind of keep going through these. So this is just a filters pack that you can get. I think it's on Gumroad, or look up Pascal Blanchet and BPR filters and you can find it. Wow, this one looks good right there. And what's really neat about this is, like, I like this filter, but maybe I don't like this angle. I can just go in here and change my angle to something like maybe this, and then relaunch that render. And it doesn't take that long to do the render. So let's see what this is going to look like. Vagrant Art Gaming, yeah, I have. I've actually been using ZBrush for quite a while. I think since 2005. And it, just like anything else, you get better with time. But I also teach it as well, and I have students that can get some good stuff going in about 15 classes, 15 2-hour classes or 3-hour classes. So and I think I'm looking into ways of teaching online as well. I taught in person at colleges, but I'm also looking to see if I can teach online as well. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long time, but it will take. I mean, if you take a good class or if you kind of focus, it doesn't take too long to be able to do these things. Right. Okay. Let's see what else is going on here. Okay. So there's that, and I'll continue to kind of go through these filters. I think this one's kind of neat. Let's see what it does. It's kind of neat. Created kind of a cartoony look to it. How about this one? That's kind of weird and wacky. How about that? How about that? All right, so all these are kind of okay, and let's go back up. I've got a few filters of my own that I've developed. There's that. That kind of looks neat. How about this one? That looks neat too. And these are ones that I've just basically either collected or have gotten over time. Some of them I've customized. All right, so there's like lot of different options of what this will look like. That was good too. This is kind of neat, but that looked good here. That one is not very good, but I had one that came up that was nice, and I don't remember which one it was. Here's kind of another stylistic one. All right, and these are just ones of that I have, but ZBrush itself also comes with a ton of different ones. So like if I want a kind of black and white one, all these have like some interesting things, and it's easy to switch through these. So it's kind of nice to just kind of go through a few just to see if there's something that jumps out. And it also will help with my final render as well because it gives me some ideas. But yeah, all right. Let me get back to the questions here. Let me find a good one to leave it at. I think that first one that I had was really, really good. I don't know if it was a custom one or whatever. I shouldn't have messed it up, but I can get to it again really fast. think there were some new ones that they added. Where did they go? Here we go. They added some new ones that were really good. Here's one that Pablo did, which is an oil painting one. Sometimes I play around with that one, and you can get some really good results. Yeah, this one I think you can get pixel art with it as well. There we go. I really like this one, which I think is more of just a normal render. And let's try these two. That kind of looks neat too. Anyway, so you kind of guys get the idea of all the possibilities. I'm going to leave it at this. And then let me see what the stream's saying. So yeah, let's see. The curved ear, something terrible happened nearby. Yep. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So I'll check out that Phi Matrix. Thank you. That would be nice. BR Hacker. Okay, so yeah, ZBrush costs $900. So the thing about ZBrush is that you can. There's 3 versions of it. There is ZBrush Core Mini, ZBrush Core, and ZBrush Proper. So ZBrush itself, yes, it's $900, and if you buy it, you buy it. They've been upgrading it for free for a long time, but they've just announced that that might change. I don't know what's going to happen there, but a lot of features have come over time. Like from the time that I bought it to what it is now, is it's amazing how much it's developed and become a really cool program. And I think it's going to develop even better. I think they've got more resources to work with now, so I'm pretty optimistic about that. But you can also rent it. You can rent it for a month and see if you like it. But you can also get ZBrush Core Mini, which is free, and then you can upgrade that to ZBrush Core, and then you can upgrade that to ZBrush if you like it. So you can try it out as well. Let's see, which space mouse do I recommend? So the one I have right now is kind of the basic one. Here, let me grab it. Which is this one right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just this kind of really basic one. And again, I mostly use it for kind of, finding a good camera angle and positioning it that way. But I'm going to give it sculpting a try with it. But for sculpting, I would need more buttons. So I think I'm going to try out the Enterprise one. So next time that I stream, I might have it already, and you can see me using that. And I'll kind of do a quick review on it then. But I think the Enterprise one, or this one that I showed you, is pretty good. The Enterprise one is a little bit bigger. Not the controller itself, but the actual thing is bigger. And it's got some buttons on it, which would be pretty useful. I had old ones too. I've been using Space Mice forever. And the old ones, the drivers don't work anymore. So I opted out to get a newer one. Okay, so Tomas has the Enterprise one, and he said he absolutely cannot work without it now, which is great. That's a good testimony right there. And if you guys don't know, Tomas also, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, Tomas, but he also streams, and he does jewelry and does some amazing jewelry with ZBrush. And so he's a good testimonial there too. So he's going to make a video for Pixelogic. That's great. And that's great. Okay, I am saying it right. Fantastic. Okay, are you taking off? You are. Okay, so it's almost 9 o'clock. I'm going to be taking off soon too. So if you guys have last minute questions, I think this is kind of where I'm going to leave it out today. I might end a little bit sooner today. But if you guys have any other questions about any of this stuff, let me know and I'll answer them in the next few minutes. But basically, I think that I'm more or less done with what we're working on. I think the next goal is to start loading this into Keyshot next time, and hopefully I'll have 11 loaded. I might do a little bit more work on the cave to get a little bit more detail, because I'm looking like if we're looking at it up close, I'm going to need a little bit more detail on the cave itself. So that's basically just doing what I did today. And then the next thing I'm going to be doing is just basically loading this into Keyshot and assigning materials to everything, finding some good angles, and getting some good renders out of it. So with that, I'm going to wish you guys a good evening or day or whatever time of day it is where you are. And I'll just kind of wait around for a couple of minutes here just to see if anybody has any questions. And other than that, I will sign off. So let's see here. I think nobody's saying anything, which could be a good sign. I guess I've answered all the questions. And all right. Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I like to do is I've always kind of wondered if I should do like things that only take 2 weeks or 3 weeks to finish, versus something that's going to take 8 or 9 sessions to do. But this one's kind of gone to 11. I think 12 we should nail it in 12. And I always wonder if I should do smaller projects, but I kind of like going through it. Again, this is something I'd be doing myself, whenever I get a chance, so it's good to stream it. Another announcement I should also make is that I'm going to be streaming on Twitch as well on my own. So I will continue to do this with ZBrush Live, but I also might have another stream that I do, which might be a different type of project. So stay tuned for that. I'll have more information on that soon. I'm just setting everything up. Okay, so I think I think nobody's asking any questions. So I think we're gonna close this one off. Have a good night, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Okay, so peace. And